This is week 2 of a brand new series that we've started called Deeper Things, where we're learning how to see differently and how to see more accurately. Last week, we learned that actually faith is not blind. We talk about blind faith. It's not blind. It's just a different kind of seeing. In fact, last week we also learned that a vibrant faith is actually dependent on a healthy imagination, an imagination that's kind of harnessed by the truth of God is an amazing, amazing tool in the arsenal of a Christian. Now, what I want to talk about this week is probably going to rock your boat a little bit. So we talked about how this book, what we call the Bible, there's lots of great stories, amazing principles. Even if you don't believe in God, if you take the life principles of this book and put them into practice, you will live a better life. But the primary purpose of the Bible isn't to help us live better lives or be moral, upright people. It's actually to teach us how to see. In particular, how to see God, how to see ourselves, and how to see our path moving forward, and how that all relates to Jesus. That's kind of the bottom line of this book. So the thing I want to talk about today is that if we want to see more clearly, in particular, if we want to see by faith more clearly, we're going to have to learn to see past our feelings. Your feelings are in the way of you seeing clearly. I'm going to get into this in the next little bit. In the past 10 years or so, something has happened to us. And I just need to explain this. We were talking about imagination. I'm getting ahead of myself. Imagine we can talk about making stuff up, which we tend to associate with things like fantasy. And then there's this whole side of imagination, which is visualizing things that aren't present to the senses. What happens is our feelings jump into this arena in full force, and they mislead us in incredible ways. So what I was getting to is we've actually noticed probably something shifting under our feet. If you haven't, let me draw attention to you. So, sorry, blah, blah, blah. The society that we live in has adopted a new religion in the last 10 years. And every single person in this room has actually been affected by this religion. It's probably been in the works for generations, but in the last 5 years in particular, this thing has happened and it's shifted under our feet. There is no building for this religion. There are no pastors for this religion. There are no priests or imams, but everything has changed in our society. This is what it is based on. This is what it's based on. So I think we've entered a realm or a time in our culture where feelings have become the new truth. René Descartes, his philosophical underpinnings have kind of been the foundation of Western society in particular. René Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am." That's totally out the window. That doesn't even make it to first base anymore. In our culture, it is now, "I feel, therefore I am." This is the tenet of the new religion. So I just Googled a couple of things, and by the way, I don't believe this. I'm just saying, this is what's running rampant in our culture. So here's one: our mind can never lead us to our destiny. Only our feelings will lead us on the right path. This was like in the first couple of pages of just searching this up. Here's another one. Trust your feelings. If something doesn't feel good, it probably isn't. Which is why we don't go to the gym. Anybody in fitness is going, no, with this new religion, right? You have to, you see it. Okay, look at this one. This is fascinating. Love God, but who do we trust? Our feelings. Be loyal to them. Don't betray them. Watch this. Again, why do we not betray them? Always trust your gut feelings, as they never lie the way people do. This is real. And of course, the best one of all. This is from, it didn't come up. Okay. It comes from Star Wars. Right? This is clearly the best ones. Trust your feelings, Luke. they will not betray you. Okay, so this is this new religion in a nutshell. And here's the crazy thing. You bump into people, and and even institutions that are coming to build their lives and their principles and even the laws of the land on these concepts. In fact, you already have probably become the victim of these concepts. There's an ancient Indian philosopher, probably lived 1,000 years ago or something, named Chanakya. Never heard of him, but I Googled him and I found him, and he nailed us like 1,000 years ago. He's probably trying to start his religion, and now if he were alive today, he'd say, there, mission accomplished. He says, your feelings are your God, and your soul is your temple. Your feelings are your God, and your soul is your temple. If truth has been replaced by feelings, or if we're going to say that feelings are truth, what we're saying is feelings are king. We're saying feelings are God. And if God is our feelings, then, and if truth is our feelings, then anyone who believes something that hurts your feelings is a heretic. This is what we're seeing. That's how I know it is a religion in our society. Just look at the legal battles, look at the controversy over safe places and being offended, and you see this. This is fact in our society. People who believe things that offend other people are heretics. And it's far worse than the church ever was after the Dark Ages. In North America, Dark Ages, not so good for any religion, actually, let's just be honest. But since the dawn of Christianity kind of in the Americas and maybe this century, and remember how legalistic the church used to be and how judgmental the church used to be? That is nothing compared to how culture is censoring people who don't believe the right things now. If you believe something that hurts someone else's feelings in this new culture, you are a heretic. You can not only be persecuted, it's now becoming fact that you can be prosecuted for it. The church has never taken it that far. So this is shifting under our feet, and it's crazy, crazy, crazy. Now, here's a couple of questions I want to ask you. If there's truth to this, because there's little bits of truth, but let me ask you this. Is your level of fear in a situation, does your level of fear determine the level of danger? Do they even have to have anything to do with each other? So what you feel of fear can have nothing to do with the actual danger. Okay, how outraged you are, how outraged you feel, does that determine the level of injustice? No. Does how confident you feel have anything to do with how competent you are? Zero, often. Does the depth of your grudge that you're holding actually indicate the size of the offense that you're all upset about? No. If you feel rejected, does it mean you have been rejected? No. If you feel alone, does that mean you are alone? No. If you feel worthless, does it mean you are worthless? If you feel invincible, does it mean you are invincible? If you feel attacked, does it mean you have been attacked? No. So why are feelings king? There is an almost pathological gap between feelings and reality. I hate to break it to you, because you would say, oh no, I haven't taken it as far as making it a religion, and I wouldn't say feelings are God, but it's amazing how much of our feelings direct us on a day-to-day basis. It's amazing how much truth we ascribe to our feelings. But I'm telling you, there is a pathological gap, a distance, a disconnect between feelings and reality, and the quickest way to detach yourself from reality is to follow your feelings. It's absolutely true. There's a passage that I read this week from the book of Isaiah. Isaiah was a prophet that lived thousands of years ago, even hundreds of years before Jesus even came on the scene. And he writes this social commentary inspired by God's Spirit about the people of his day. But man, does it fit our culture and what I've just described to you this morning. Listen to this. Justice is far from us, and righteousness does not reach us. We look for light, but all is darkness. For brightness, but we walk in deep shadows. Like the blind, we grope along the wall, feeling our way. Like people without eyes. In other words, when you depend on your feelings to guide you, you're choosing not to see. You're feeling. It's a different faculty. Seeing is seeing. Feeling is feeling. Not the same thing. So, we feel our way like people without eyes. At midday, we stumble as if it were twilight. Among the strong, we're like the dead. A couple of verses later, listen to this. Because we are feeling our way through our lives, justice is driven back, righteousness stands at a distance, truth has stumbled in the streets. Just look at the political campaigns running roughshod over the American people today, or even what's happening in Canada, and you'll realize that truth has stumbled in the streets. Why? Because we're feeling our way through the world instead of thinking, instead of orienting ourselves with something objective. Watch this. Honesty cannot enter. Truth is nowhere to be found, and whoever shuns evil becomes a prey. So again, if you stand up and say, we can't just listen to our feelings, you're labeled a heretic and you become a prey. You become persecuted for actually standing up and telling the truth. Now again, most of us would say, I would never go that far, and I've been watching from the sidelines going, oh, that's just nasty, that's not true. And then I get it, but what about the guy or the girl who wants desperately to go out with that guy, and because of the way he makes her feel, even though he's no good for her? What about the guy who wants to take that job and against the advice of everyone in his life wants to move his family across the country to get the promotion because of the feeling that he'll get when he's richer and more prestigious? What about the parent who refuses to discipline their child because it might make them cry? What about the guy who says, I don't feel God, so I think God has left me? What about those of us who feel like, I don't feel God's love, so I don't think God actually loves me? What about, on the flip side, when we say, it feels good, so it must be God? See, all of us have been touched by this religion. All of us have been kind of going to church, getting input from the wrong places. I want to read you a story from the Old Testament in the Bible. I'm going to read part of it, and the part of it's going to be up on the screen. And it's a fascinating story. It's a fascinating story. And it's a time in Israel's history. Israel is the people of God in the Old Testament, that God was moving through this people and keeping them alive and guiding them. These are the people that would eventually give birth to the Messiah, who we call Jesus. So this is the context. In this time of Israel's history, they were being attacked and persecuted, and there were nations coming and going, and Israel was really struggling as a nation. So here's how this goes. There was a king of a country named Aram. So the king of Aram was at war with Israel at this point in history. After conferring with his officers, he said, I will set up my camp in such and such a place. In other words, he's saying, let's set up over there. And then the man of God, whose name was Elisha, he's a prophet, sent word to the king of Israel, beware of passing that place, because the Arameans are going down there. So the king of Israel checked on the place indicated by the man of God, and time again, Elisha warned the king so that he was on his guard in such places. In other words, the king of Aram would say, we're going to totally spring a trap on Israel this time. We'll meet him in this valley. God would tell the prophet, yeah, don't go down to that valley. The prophet would tell the king, don't go down to that valley. And the king of Aram would be like, how do they know? Okay, it's really funny. Okay, so this enraged the king of Aram. He summoned his officers and demanded of them, tell me, which of us is on the side of the king of Israel? None of us, my lord the king, said one of his officers. But Elisha, the prophet who's in Israel, he tells the king of Israel the very words you speak in your bedroom. Creepy. Go, find out where he is, the king ordered, so I can send men and capture him. And the report came back, he's in Dothan. Now, I don't understand why they think this plan's going to work any better, right? So they said, let's go get the guy that knows everything. And he's always one step ahead of us, but whatever. It's a good attempt. He's in Dothan. Then he sent horses and chariots and a strong force there, and they went by night and surrounded the city. Now, this is where I want to pick it up, and I want to show you on the screen. When the servant of the man of God got up, Elisha's servant, got up and went out early the next morning, an army with horses and chariots had surrounded the city. He did what any one of us would have done. Oh no! In other words, fear has gripped him. Panic has gripped him. Oh no, my Lord, what shall we do? The servant asked. Now, anybody in his situation would have the same reaction he did, except Elisha. If there's anyone who ever had a reason to go with his feelings, it's this guy. Because they're surrounded. It doesn't just look like they're surrounded. You could say this is one time, Pastor Brad, where feelings and the fear and the size of the threat actually match. And yet, even in this situation, his fear is blinding him to something that Elisha can see. So here comes. This is so cool. All right. Don't be afraid, the prophet answered. Why? Why do you say don't be afraid? Not just because it's wrong to be afraid, because your fear is blinding you. Your emotions are blinding you to a greater reality than you can see with your eyes. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them. I can just imagine this moment going, nope. Come here. I just want to show you something. One, I can't even get to 5. So you tell me what's going on. He's like, no. So this is what happens. Then Elisha prayed, open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see. Now notice, Elisha said, stop giving in to fear. Then he said, God, open his eyes so he can see. And then the Lord opened his servant's eyes, and he looked, and he saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. In other words, an angelic army surrounding the army that was surrounding them. How cool is that? Now, that was there the whole time. That army didn't show up when Elisha prayed. It was already there. Now, I'm not sure if Elisha even saw with his eyes like the servant did. There's no indication here that Elisha was seeing a vision. But he saw through the eyes of faith. We're not alone. In fact, they're the ones who are outnumbered. So for the benefit of the weak faith of this servant, Elisha says, could you open his eyes so he can see? And he actually sees it with his physical eyes. This is real. Now, you might be thinking, that's kind of outdated. Like, I'm not sure what help chariots would be in today's day and age. Well, today they might be in Apache attack helicopters. I don't know. They're manifesting in a way that means something to the culture of the time. You understand that angels are spirits, right? That they're not bound by time and space like we are and all that. But here's this cool manifestation of God's protection. It's so cool, so cool. Now, this isn't the end of the blindness and the seeing. The story keeps going. It's really cool. Watch this. So, as the enemy came down toward him, Elisha prayed to the Lord, strike this army with blindness. So we start off with the servant not being able to see. Now he can see. Now there's a role reversal. So he struck them with blindness, as Elisha had asked. Now, we're so confident in what we think we can see. We put so much confidence in what we think we're perceiving. It should be unnerving to you that someone can go like this and you see something completely different. That God can go, bup, and suddenly you're blind. And bup, you can see. And bup, you're blind. Bup, bup, bup. This is literally flip-flopping in this story. We're so confident, and yet what we see is so dependent on what God allows us to see, or what we ask God to help us see. Elisha told him, this is awesome. Elisha told them, these aren't the droids you're looking for. That's a Star Wars reference. I'm sorry. This is not the road and this is not the city. Follow me and I will lead you to the man you're looking for. And he led them to Samaria, which is deep in the heart of Israel, in their nation. So he's leading this army who's blind. He's leading the blind, and because they're blind, they don't realize where they're going, and they're being misled. Again, being misled because they're blind. And after they entered the city, Elisha said, Lord, open the eyes of these men so they can see. And then the Lord opened their eyes, and they looked, and there they were inside Samaria. When the king of Israel saw them, they're seeing again, he asked Elisha, shall I kill them, my father? Shall I kill them? In other words, now he sees a defenseless army. He sees the enemy right where he wants them. He sees a bloodbath waiting to happen. And he's just asking the prophet, okay, is it go time? Is it go time? Do not kill them. Do not kill them, he answered. Why not? We'll never get this chance again. Why would we not kill them? Because you're not seeing them the way God sees them. That's why. Would you kill those you have captured with your own sword or bow, set food and water before them, so that they may eat and drink and then go back to their master? So he prepared a great feast for them. And after they had finished eating and drinking, he sent them away, and they returned to their master. And so the bands from Aram stopped raiding Israel's territory. Why shouldn't I kill them? Because they don't have to die. Trust me, they've learned their lesson. You don't see what God sees. It's so awesome. Now, after all of this, you might get the impression from me that I think feelings are bad. They're not bad. Or that feelings are wrong. You know, and then again, if that's what you're thinking now, you're being triggered. Because the new religion says your feelings are king. So if I'm hurting your feelings, I'm a heretic. And you need to attack me. And you need to shut me up. So if you're being triggered, just warn you, that's a sign of the other religion. Is feelings, or our feelings, sorry, could someone get me a drink? I'm losing my voice. Is it wrong to feel? No. It's just that we misinterpret our feelings. And here's what I would say. Feelings don't tell us the truth about reality. It's not their job. Feelings tell us how we're handling reality. The new religion says that feelings are reality. They're not. Thank you. They just tell us how we're doing with it. There's a fundamental difference. In other words, if you want to write one thing down from today, feelings are a thermometer, not a compass. That's life-changing, by the way. Because we treat our feelings as though they're a compass. Now, then, if this is true, following our feelings is like using a thermometer as a compass. Ouch. So imagine you're with a bunch of buddies, you get lost in the woods, and you're panicking, no one's got their phones, or the GPS isn't working, and somebody says, have no fear. I have a thermometer. And you're like, well, what are we going to do? Well, watch this. What? It's getting warmer. I think we're supposed to go this way. This is literally what we're doing when we're following our feelings. And then we wonder, how did we get lost? I don't understand. stupid thing. The problem isn't with our feelings, it's we're using our feelings to do the wrong job. That's the problem. Our feelings are important. They're an important part of our faith. You know, I'm an emotional guy. I love to cry, I love to laugh, I love to feel God, I love all of that, but they're a thermometer, not a compass. When you can see this in this story with Elisha and his servant. Feelings are internal. They're personal. So how can they be a reading of out there? They can't be. It's impossible. And what they do then is, by focusing on feelings only, we actually block out the wider perspective. This is what was happening very naturally to this servant. He couldn't see because he's focused on his feelings. Feelings love to jump into our imaginations and paint ugly pictures or beautiful pictures, or they love to wreak havoc with our imagination, and then we see it clear as day, and so we think it's real, but it's not. It's been painted by something that's not designed to direct our lives. We have to start putting aside the filter of our feelings if we want to see by faith. So here are three things. Wow, I have a cold this week and it's really getting me. I have three things that I want to talk about that we can learn from this story of Elisha and his servant. And the one of them is so basic, but we are so threatened by it. Number one, just hang out with people that see Jesus more clearly than you do. In our culture, we like to feel like we're the master of everything. We'd rather Google something than ask someone about it. Right? We'd like to work it out ourselves, and so to actually spend time with someone that sees Jesus more clearly than we do, kind of humiliating. We don't want to admit that we don't see Jesus. Instead of going, you know what, there's something I don't get, or there's something about your faith that I want. You might find yourself in a situation where you're panicking, and they're just calm and peaceful, and you're like, whatever you got, I want some of that. I need to see the way you're seeing. Can you show me? What are you doing in your mind right now? What are you rehearsing in your heart? How do you see that so differently than I do? It's really important. The second piece, and this is just kind of an assumption or kind of built in implicitly to the text, I think we actually need to assume our emotions are blinding us to the truth at least a little bit pretty much all the time. In fact, I would almost, I don't know how to say it less than almost, but I'd almost say if emotions are in play, you're not seeing clearly. In other words, even if you're elated, you're excited, you're being blinded by that excitement a little bit. And so it's not that it's bad, it's just that we need to go, I need to take this into consideration. I think my fear is tainting my vision. I think my greed or my jealousy or my anger or my bitterness or whatever it is, it's tainting me. If you feel it, it's probably blinding you a little bit. This is really hard to do, by the way. The third thing is what Elisha did for the servant. It's to ask Jesus to open our eyes to what we're missing. You'd be surprised at how basic, but how amazing this prayer is. So in any given situation, you're assuming I'm not seeing the whole picture. So Jesus, would you reveal what I'm missing? If you just pray that prayer routinely, your life will change directions. It really will. Just a heads up. Because there's a pathological disconnect between your feelings and reality, when Jesus starts to correct your feelings with truth, he's going to hurt them. And he's going to use people to do it. So that means you're going to be offended by people who push your buttons, and it's Jesus actually guiding you into truth. The truth hurts sometimes, and it's good. It's so good because we're getting closer to where we should be. I wonder if we'd all benefit today from just rehearsing this a little bit. So could you repeat after me? Because my voice isn't strong enough. So I need you to repeat these words after me. And if at some point it's too spiritual for you, it's like not where you're at, then you just say, I'm out at this point. But just see how far we can get, okay? Can you repeat this after me? My feelings do not define me. Oh, I am not my feelings. My feelings don't define reality. They only tell me how I'm handling reality. Okay, this is where if you're not a believer, you can check out or you can keep going and just watch your life change, okay? Saying, Jesus, I've been blinded by my own feelings. But I know you see the truth because you are the truth. So would you show me what I'm missing? That conflict that I'm wrestling with. I'm not seeing the whole picture, Jesus. Would you show me what I'm missing? That opportunity I'm so excited about. I'm not seeing the whole picture. Would you show me what I'm missing? Amen.